right, guys, in this lesson right here, we are going to construct congruent angles and we're going to construct angle bisectors. Okay, so in this first one that we're going to do, we're going to copy an angle, which is the same thing as constructing congruent angles. We're going to use these steps to construct an angle that is congruent to angle A. So I'm going to just kind of walk through these 4 easy steps, and then we'll practice constructing it ourselves. So the first step that you'll want to do is you'll want to make a ray with point D as an endpoint, okay? So we'll make a ray right here at this bottom part. And then in step 2, we're going to make an arc on the angle that we want to copy. And we're going to label those 2 intersection points B and C because those are important. Then without changing your compass setting, okay, the radius. And so then we're going to make that same arc down on placing our compass on D, and then we're going to call this intersection point E. And then as we move to step 3, this BC, we will go measure with our compass how far apart those 2 points are. And then come to the bottom and place your compass right here on E. And we're going to make this important arc right here. So right there, that little red arc that we made after measuring from B to C, think about it, that's the same measure. And that point right there is important because then we're going to just connect point to D through that point, which we'll call F in this case. And it goes straight through. And then so therefore this angle EDF should be identical to BAC. Okay, so let's try this together down here a couple of times, okay? So it says construct congruent angles for the following 2 angles. We're going to practice it twice. So I have my ruler and my straight edge. So I'm going to practice copying this angle over here first. So I'm going to make a line down here. So let me get my pen. So we're going to draw a line like that. Okay, and I always like to face it the same way. So I'm going to put my end point over here on this end. And so that'll be my point, I don't know, D. We'll use the same letters that they do. Okay, so now we're going to get our compass. And the first step is to go make an arc on the angle that we want to copy. So I'm going to put it right here on the vertex. And we're going to make an arc on the angle that I want to copy. So I'm going to use a different color so you can see that. And then now I'm going to, notice I'm not changing my compass setting. I'm going to come down over here to D, and I'm going to make an arc, that same arc, like so. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and label these 2 points A and B, because those 2 points are important. The distance from A to B is basically how wide this angle is. So I'm going to place my compass on A, and then I want to go get the measure with my compass from A to B, like that. Okay, and make sure you're right on it. There we go. Okay, now without changing that compass setting, down here, let's call this point C. That point C is where I want to place the compass at. So remember, I just took the measure from A to B. I'm going to come down here on C, and I want to make an arc. Okay, so make it a different color so that way it's noticeable. Okay, so this arc right here, and it doesn't have to be real big, just so you can see the intersection. That intersection point right here, we're going to call A, B, C, D. Let's call E. All right. So that point is important because now I just have to connect D to E, and then that angle should be the same exact size as the angle right above. Okay, and you always want to make sure you're right on the vertex, and you want to make sure your ruler goes perfectly through that point. There we go. So let me get my pen. Oopsie, undo. And now it's not going to connect to my ruler for some crazy reason. Let me try one thing. Okay, so let's try it one more time. Get my pen. There we go. All right, so now I just made this angle right here. And let's call this A, B, C, D, E. Let's call this one F. So right here, I'm going to write off to the side angle BFA is congruent to angle congruent to angle CDE. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so you'll notice that we have to have 3 important arcs on here in order to get this one correct. Okay, so now let's take a look at this other angle. It's just turned differently, so it's really not that big a deal. Again, let's kind of face it the same way. It doesn't really matter which way it faces, y'all. It's just, I don't know, it's just a preference. So you can put this first ray however you want. Okay, so I'm going to start off by making a ray. So here I am on the ruler. Okay, and then this is going to be my vertex down here at the bottom. Let's call that point A. Okay, all right. If you remember the next step, we're going to place our compass on the vertex of the angle that I want to copy. And I was going to say, you don't really want your compass too small. Okay, you want a decent size. You don't want it, you know, extra large either. So you want it to be a decent size. I used to have kids last year and the years before make it so tiny and it's so hard to work with. Okay, so have a decent size setting on your compass. All right, so like I said, we're going to put our compass a decent size, and then our first step is to make an arc on the angle we want to copy. Okay. We want to make that same arc over on point A. So I'm going to make that same arc. Okay, and you want to kind of make it, you know, the same size. You want it rather long so that way you can work with those. Okay, so remember these 2 points are important. So I'm going to label them. It doesn't matter what letters. I'm going to label it B and C. Okay, those 2 points are very important because we need to use those measures to get the width of this angle. So put your compass on one of those points and then put your pencil and get the width like so. Once you get that width, we're going to come down here, and I forgot to label it. This is important down here, this point right here. That one is going to be point D. So we want to place our compass on point D like so. And let me get a different color so you can kind of see that arc. And that's where we want to make the arc where it crosses over on the other side, because that's how wide this angle needs to be to match the angle up at the top. Okay, so A, B, C, D, let's call this one point E. Let's call this one point F. And now we need to use our ruler to make a line, or a ray, I should say, going from A through point F. Okay, so here it is, and it didn't make it. So one last thing I need to do. There we go. Okay, try it again. And there we go. We have 2 angles that are congruent to each other, and they should be perfectly congruent. So I'm going to write that up here. Angle BEC is congruent to angle FAD. Okay, those two angles are congruent. And again, I have my 3 arcs that I need. So maybe put that as a reminder that we need 3 arcs. Okay, so let's go to the next type of construction. This next one's pretty easy. It's called bisecting an angle. Bisecting an angle. And all it takes is 3 simple arcs. This one's a little easier than copying an angle. So if I want to bisect angle BAC, you want to start off by putting an arc on the angle. And then these 2 points are important, kind of like on the other copying angle, which are labeled B and C. You want to go put your point on B, and as long as you have it, it doesn't have to be the exact width of BC, but as long as it goes more than halfway, your compass doesn't have to be a certain setting. And you're just going to make an arc in the interior of the angle. Then you go place it on C, and you make that same arc, and you want to see that intersection happen because that's where you're going to connect with your ruler from there to there. So let's go ahead and try that down here at the bottom. So I need my compass and my ruler. So let me get my compass and ruler, which are up here. All right, so it says construct the bisector below. All right, so I'm going to bisect this angle. So it's pretty simple. Like I said earlier, you don't want to make a real small setting on your compass. You want it to be a decent size, okay? Not extremely large, so it's past it, but about like so. And then always make sure your compass is right on the vertex. So make an arc like this. And then I'm going to label these 2 points B and C because those are very important. Because now you want to place your compass on one of those to begin with. And here's where I was saying your compass doesn't have to go all the way to B. It can't be that small either, though. So it's got to be close to B, so more than halfway. And so you'll have to be the judge of that. Okay, and I'm going to make an arc in the interior, decent size. And now I'm going to place it at B. And I want to make an arc in the interior, and you have to see them cross. Okay, so if I call that point D, I want to connect A to D. So now let's place our ruler lined up with A and D. And that should be a perfect bisector right there, guys. So I'm going to connect it through there like so. And I have a bisector. This angle over here should be congruent to that one right there. Okay, and again, you need to have 3 arcs to get this one correct. All right, let's do one more, and this will be the last one of the day. Divide the angle into 4 equal angles. Okay, so 4 equal angles. If you think about the one we just did, we divided that one angle into 2 congruent angles. So now if I want to divide it into 4 congruent angles, it's kind of similar to the bisecting of a segment. So let's go ahead and start off by making an arc on our original angle. And I'm just going to do what I just did a second ago. I'm going to make the bisector of the angle and divide it into 2 equal parts. So we come over here, place it on those 2 points. Notice I did not label those points, but you probably should. So I'm going to label them B and C like I did earlier. Okay, this one's going to be point D, and then this one is A. So now I'm going to connect A to D. So place your ruler carefully on A, line it up to go perfectly through D, and let me grab a different color. Okay, so I just divided. I don't like the way it, I can see how it's not perfectly through A, so I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to move it over just a tad so it goes perfectly through the vertex. And then I got to move this over a little bit. There we go. I like the way this one looks a little bit more. Okay, well, it doesn't go through D very good either. So again, I'm a perfectionist. I'm a little OCD. So I'm going to fix it one more time. I think that might do it. There we go. I like that one. So it goes a little bit better through A and D. So see, when your ruler is just slightly off. Okay, so I have two congruent angles. So guess what, guys? I already have an arc drawn. So I'm going to actually label this point right here E. And so now I'm going to place my compass on B because I already have an arc drawn. And I'm going to put an intersection in between here. Okay, so let me get a different color so I can make it noticeable. So let's put an arc here in the interior. Now let's place it on E. And then make steady right on the E. And then now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make an arc. Okay, so you see that intersection? Now I'm going to line up A through that intersection, which I didn't name it anything. I probably should name it something. What letter am I on? A, B, C, D, E, F. Let's call this one F. So now I'm going to connect A to F. Okay, A to F. This is going to be bisecting the angle over here on the left. So let's see. Let's get a different color. Try green. See if that comes up right. There we go. Okay, so I just divided the angle on the left into two equal angles. So now if you think about it, I just need to do it one more time and then I got that. Now I do want to give you another option though. You already just learned how to copy an angle, right? So think about this. Since I already have the arc drawn, this is another option. This angle right here that I'm about to line up, look where my compass is going. You see how I'm getting the width of that arc right there? So that arc right there is going to be the same as over here. So all I have to do is copy this angle over at C or E. You can go either way. So I'm going to place it right here. I'm going to make that arc there. And that's like copying this angle over here. So now I'm going to get my ruler and make my last and final move to make this into 4 equal angles. I want it to line up perfectly through that point. Okay, let's get this last color to be, I don't know, something different. Let's go purple. And then I connect there through that intersection. Okay. It's not quite through it. Again, you know me, I like to put it perfectly through that intersection. So I'm going to move my ruler over a little bit. That to me looks a little bit better maybe. I still don't like it. I got to go back one. There we go. I think this will do it. Nope, nope, I messed it up now. There we go. I like this one. Okay, so now I have 3 congruent angles, and I mean 4 congruent angles, okay, or 4 equal angles, like it says up at the top. And I'm going to go ahead and label them 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is angle 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they're all congruent. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Move these out of the way. Which is congruent to angle 3, which is congruent to angle 4. All right, and that's it. Copying angle and bisecting an angle.